So my name is Danielle Szabo. I'm the Interim Executive Director here at CEDA. I'm really excited to present this morning this opportunity and partnership with the City of Auburn. The City of Auburn has allocated $500,000 to help small businesses within the form of grants. This is their ARPA funding. The City of Auburn, I think in total, has received over $21 million last year. ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act, this is the funding that all municipalities had received across the country for their federal relief. And during last year, the City of Council allocated $500,000 for the small business assistance. So within this opportunity, you have to be within the City of Auburn, and businesses can apply up to $40,000. And like I said, this is a grant program. This is not a loan. And the grant funding assistance can cover costs that were incurred as of March 3rd of 2021 or through December 31st of 2024. This is a reimbursement-based grant, so depending on how you plan on using the funding, it is something that you can submit receipts for use of funds for something that you have already spent cost on, or in your application, you will justify what a future expenditure will be. And after that is spent, you can submit your use of funds and you would be reimbursed for that. In terms of eligibility, businesses that are eligible for this opportunity are for-profit businesses that are independently owned and operated. We are going by the SBA guidelines in terms of what is a small business, and that is a business that has less than 500 employees. The business must be in operation of March 3rd of 2021. This is a really exciting guideline, as when the first rulings came out for this funding, businesses had to be in business as of 2020. But as of recent, they had changed those guidelines and it is March 3rd of 2021. Also, some local eligibility guidelines is that you must be current on City of Auburn and local taxes. And then the last guidance is not going to apply to every business that is applying, but if you are a small business that received CV funding back in 2020, I think it was the summer of 2020, and you worked with CEDA, you have to have submitted all of your use of fund receipts and all your documentation before being eligible for this opportunity. Ineligible businesses are nonprofits, independent contractors, rental properties, and franchises. If you're a nonprofit or if you know of a nonprofit that is looking for funding, stay tuned with the city. The city has allocated other funding sources for nonprofits and other partners, and hopefully they'll be rolling out guidelines in the upcoming weeks for that. So as the government, they love their acronyms. So in this, you'll see two different acronyms, which is ARPA, which we've talked about already, the American Rescue Plan Act, and also CSLFRF, and that is the Coronavirus State and Local Physical Recovery Funds. Same thing, not too important, but just so you know, as we're talking about this and we're using these acronyms, this is what it's in reference to. So if you are a small business that is seeking funding through this opportunity, you have to have had a negative economic impact or economic harm, such as a loss of earnings or revenues that was experienced by the small business from the pandemic. You will need to use these funds to address the identified economic impact. And also, if you are awarded fundings, you have to be okay entering a funding agreement with the City of Auburn and CEDA as well. We'll go over it a little bit more in depth later on, but you will be required to participate in quarterly grant reports and collecting of specific demographic data. As this is federal funding and it goes until 2024, the city will be held to tracking and data requirements for years after this. So application eligibility, there are two eligibility categories a business can apply for. And the first one is the disproportionately impacted small business. And under this category, there are two ways that you can apply. The first one would be if you're a small business operating in or adjacent to the city's qualified census tract. Nationally, the US Treasury wanted to prioritize qualified census tracts across the country. Within the City of Auburn, Census Tract 421, which is on the west end, is a qualified census tract under the national guidelines. So if you're operating or adjacent, such as in 413 or 418, that would be the first way that you'd be eligible for this. The second one would be is if you're a small business that experienced disproportionately negative economic impact in one of the following industries: arts, entertainment, recreation, accommodations and food service, healthcare and social assistance, or retail trade. So you don't have to be one of those industries within one of the qualified census tracts. That is just within the City of Auburn. The other category is the impacted small business, and you must be a small business located within the City of Auburn that has experienced a negative economic impact during the pandemic. And that can be seen through lost revenue or increased costs, challenges covering payroll, rent, or mortgage, other operating costs, the ability to weather financial hardship, or general financial insecurity resulting from the public health emergency or the pandemic. For eligible use of funds, both categories have the same first bullet, and essentially really what that is to mitigate the financial hardship, such as payroll, benefits, costs to retain employees, mortgage, rent, utility, or any other operating cost. Under disproportionately impacted small businesses, there are some other eligible use of funds, such as technical assistance, rehabilitation of commercial property, storefront improvement, facade improvements, and support of micro businesses, including financial, childcare, and transportation costs. If you're a business that wants to apply under the disproportionately impacted small business category, and you're looking to do any commercial property or storefront improvements and facades, this will trigger a procurement policy. And also CEDA is still working with the city in terms of prevailing wage. We have a feeling it will trigger prevailing wage, but we're not 100% sure. And also, depending on your project, my encouragement would be is to reach out to CEDA and meet with a specialist to talk about what your potential improvements are, as there may be other better funding sources to help you with those project needs. And just keep in mind, especially for that category as well, anything that the business is applying for, it has to be relevant to the impacts of COVID. So just kind of keep that in mind with this funding. It has to tie somehow to the impacts or resiliency of COVID. Ineligible use of funds. If you are awarded this funding, you cannot deposit the funds into a pension fund. The funds cannot be used as a non-federal match. The funds cannot be used to directly service debt, satisfying a judgment or settlement, or contribute to a rainy day fund. And then also, you cannot use the funds for expenses which have already been reimbursed through other federal programs. For example, if you receive PPP, the payroll protection, or EIDL, the economic industry disaster loan, and those expenses have already been covered under the awards that you received under those two federal programs, you cannot go back and use these funds to cover those same expenses. So at this time, I'm going to try to walk you through how to apply and how to set up an account, because before you are actually able to complete the application, you will be required to set up or create an account with the city. Bear with me 1 minute. So there are two ways that you can get to the application. First is on the Cuga Economic Development Agency website. You can simply just go to our homepage and you can, in the search bar, click put ARPA in, and the information will come right up. All the information that we're talking about today is located on our landing page. And towards the end of the bottom, there is a link that will redirect you to the City of Auburn's application. When you get onto this page, you'll go down to the middle and you will click the link that will bring you to the online application. On this page, you will want to go to the top right corner over here where it says log on and create an account to apply. Do not touch these ones down here. This will redirect you elsewhere. On this page, you will go and create an account and you will fill out your basic organization or your business needs or your business information. If you do not have a DUNS number, you can leave this blank. This form really is only requiring you to fill out the information that has the asterisks in it. You'll go through, you'll submit it. You'll receive, upon completion, you'll receive an email that is welcoming you to now submit the online application. I already completed an application yesterday and I'm running out of emails. So we're just gonna go back and look at the application that I completed yesterday. So this will, when you set up your account and you click on starting the application, it will redirect you right to this page. And it's a very simple form. And in this form, you can also upload your supplemental documentation. You put your business name in, the year that your business was established, the number of full-time employees that work for the business. You will look up your NAICS code if you don't know what your NAICS code is. The city has embedded a website in here where you can go in. I chose brewery yesterday because I was thirsty for a beer in the afternoon. And you will put your information in there and it will generate your NAICS code for you. You'll take the 6-digit code and you will put it back into the application. Under the section for COVID assistance received, if you received the first round of PPP, you will put the total amount here, the date in which you received round 1's funds. You will also write yes or no if that round 1 of loan was forgiven. And there should be a supplement button here for you to upload any of those documents. You will also do the same thing for round 2 of PPP. Once again, on the live application form, there would be a button here for you to upload your supporting documents. And then you'll do the same thing as well for EIDL. If you received CDBG funding from the city in 2020, you would put your funding here. If you did not receive any funding in 2020, you would just enter 0. Next, under project information, you will be prompted to read through the program guidelines. This is the actual contractual agreement and understanding of everything in terms of the ARPA or CSLFRF funding. After you have read through those guidelines, you'll click yes, and then you'll go through and finish the rest of the application. Project name would be your business name. Project costs, if depending on how you're going to use this funding and you are going to be using funding from multiple different sources, you would put the total amount here. If we're talking about payroll, you can put your annual payroll amount here. If you're looking at inventory, or if you are looking to do something that is forward thinking, you'd put the amount of money there. The CSLFRF is the request that you are putting in to the City of Auburn. Once again, cannot exceed $40,000. In the impacted or disproportionate, this is the section that we had just talked about. You will identify with one of these categories on which you want to apply under. Yesterday, I chose the impacted small business. You'll click the drop box, and there's only one eligible use of fund for impacted category, which is to mitigate financial hardship. And once again, that was to cover any and all operational costs, rent, mortgage, utilities, inventory, and such. If you want to apply for the disproportionate category, once again, you would drop down the box and click which one of these use of funds that you want to use it towards. The start date, once again, this is retroactive from March 3rd of 2021, and then the end date is December 31st of 2024. Depending on what you use your funds, you would want to put in the time frame in which your start and end dates are. Under project description, we want a brief overview of what your business is. When were you established? What do you do? Any information about just an overall very brief summary of the business. Under COVID-19, we need to understand how you've been impacted by COVID or the pandemic and how you plan on using these funds to assist you. So just once again, keep in mind that your narrative has to tie into the impacts of COVID. The third narrative section is your budget. And within this, you're going to list out the use of funds that you're going to be using the funding for. If it is for a larger project that is going to have multiple financial resources, you'll want to specify which funding source you're going to use each use of funds for. This last section is really just tied to the disproportionate category and capital expenditures. You'll complete this as it's relevant to your project. And in the last one, the type of capital expenditures, there is a drop box, and there's very specific capital expenditures that it can be used for. If you have questions, I recommend you to go back and read through the program guidelines. At the end, you will be asked to upload your 2020 and your 2021 financial statements. We understand that all businesses may have not filed their tax returns as of yet. The deadline for this application is April 30th, which is after the April 15th tax deadline. So if you have started your application or if you completed your application already and have not uploaded your tax returns, you can bring them to CEDA and we can scan them in for you and we can upload those to the systems afterwards. During this, if you are awarded, as I mentioned before already, the city will be collecting data in terms of the reporting requirements to the U.S. Treasury. So we will ask for your permission, yes or no, if you feel comfortable participating in this, as well as making sure that you're comfortable with the information that we're collecting in terms of performance indicators. At the end of it, you'll be asked to sign it. And at the very, very bottom, over in the bottom right corner, there would be a red button down here that says submit. As I've already submitted this yesterday, I don't have that. You will then receive another email stating confirmation that your application has been submitted successfully. And I will also receive a receipt of that, as well as the city as well. Whoops. So once again, the deadline for this opportunity to file an application is April 30th, which is actually a Saturday at 4 p.m. After the application process has been closed, there will be an evaluation process that is created, and there will be a selection committee. We expect a high volume of applications from small businesses in the city to apply for this. So just during this process, keep in mind this is an application for funding. It's not a grant contract. The city reserves the right to reject any and all offers at any time if such rejection is deemed to be in the best interest of the city. Also, this funding is a one-time opportunity. City offers a lot of annual funding such as CDBG, but in this case, this is just the one-time federal resource bailout that all of the municipalities have received. So keep that in mind. If you are going for this funding, it's for a one-time. It's not something annually that you can apply for. Lastly, this is a competitive process. Not all submitted applications are guaranteed funding. I think Christina's on the line today with me. Christina has been doing an incredible job in developing this guideline and this program and this opportunity for small businesses. And we are still in the process of finalizing the selection process in this. But we did want to have businesses be aware these are guidelines that are coming out of the US Treasury. So we have not essentially tied metrics to it yet, but these are the parameters that we will be looking at when it comes to scoring and selecting the awards for the businesses to receive the grant funds. And Christina, I don't know if you want to walk through this or talk a little bit more in depth about the specific criteria.
Sure, thank you, Danny. I appreciate that. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Christina Selvik, the Director of Capital Projects for the City of Auburn. I am ultimately responsible for the city's compliance with these funds with U.S. Department of Treasury. So in terms of our selection criteria, as you will see, the first one is demonstrating the negative economic impact or harm to your business. So the purpose of these funds are to remedy those issues that your business may have been impacted potentially by government closures. So the best way to demonstrate this in your application is probably to cite one of the New York State governor's executive orders that you were impacted by as a business owner. In regards to the amount of requested funds, this should relate directly to the level of economic impact or harm that your business may have incurred during the pandemic. So, provide, the level of detail in your narrative that relates to, particularly if you're asking for full funding, why should the city consider full funding for your application? There is a priority under the U.S. Treasury and the federal government to target these funds to businesses located in the city's qualified census tract. That's 421. Again, I know CEDA staff is available to help if you have questions, if you are located in that or near that tract. This is definitely a priority of the city as well. So in regards to relationship for the expenditure categories, you must choose one or the other. Either you are an impacted business or you're disproportionately impacted business, all right? Impacted businesses, those are citywide, and those funds are retro. So in terms of costs or economic harm that you might have seen since March of 2021, that would be through the time of the application, all right? Those are not forward-looking funds. Most of the mask mandates and other mandates have been lifted at this point. So going forward, we're not looking for estimated potential impact or harm. This is something that you would have already had to have experienced. Disproportionately impacted, those funds can be forward-looking if you are looking at doing one of the capital improvement projects, or you need business technical assistance, or if you're a micro enterprise. Now, again, you need to put your COVID hat on and tie those improvements to the pandemic. So look at the list that's available for the capital improvements, and then we can help answer any questions if you still have those going forward. Again, your project description needs to relate to the pandemic. Business capacity, we're mostly concerned if you are applying under disproportionately impacted community category, and whether or not you're able to actually complete that project as you're proposing. The project budget, make sure it's reasonable and justified. And then special considerations. Again, US Treasury and the federal government is encouraging municipalities to provide these funds to MWBE and SDVOB registered businesses. If you have those certifications, please provide those with your application. In addition, if you are a business that thinks you primarily serve individuals or households that are located within the QCT, or maybe of low income, or have qualified for programs that the county would offer, such as SNAP and WIC, Section 8 vouchers, etc., you can discuss that in your application. Probably the best way to provide documentation related to that would be if you partner with a county agency in providing those services to those individuals.
Thank you, Christina.
Sure, thank you.
One thing I'll just add to the improvements or expenditure related projects, this came up in yesterday's info session. Best example we can give is if you're a restaurant or an eatery or a bar that's looking to grow their capacity and want to build outdoor seating, that would be a response to COVID. As you know, that industry has weathered a lot of financial hardship when there has been guidelines of having to reduce capacity within the building. So that is a good example of a improvement or an outdoor expansion project that would be tied to COVID. If you receive grant funding, you will enter a contract agreement, once again, with the City of Auburn and CEDA. And these are the terms and conditions that we are asking the subrecipients to abide by. You would have to retain your records and financial documents up to 5 years after all funds have been expended. Once again, depending on the category you're applying, there is forward thinking, and these funds can be used up to 2024. The nice thing is, working with CEDA, we will be working to collect your use of funds. We will scan that into our system. As being a nonprofit, we're already in that practice of having to maintain all documentation for everything. So we'll work very closely with the city when they do get audited, because they do go through annual audits. So it's really important for businesses that do receive these funds that you are in communication with CEDA, so we can collect that data for you and keep it on file to relieve some of that risk and burden for you. Also, once again, Christina will be obligated to do quarterly reporting to the US Treasury. So all subrecipients during the duration of this program will be asked to participate in that. And CEDA will be working with Christina to kind of understand what data will need to be collected quarterly. This could be something internally that we can do on your behalf, or it may be something that CEDA is reaching out to you to just check in on. So once again, in terms of this reporting, all we're asking for you is to just remain open and the lines of communication with us, and that you're willing and able to participate in this requirement. For funding disbursement, the City of Auburn will be structuring the awards of funds on a reimbursement base, as we talked about already. Upon approval, we will have up to 30 days to give out that reimbursement after we receive those use of funds. So lastly, if you are not computer savvy, if you don't feel comfortable filling out the application yourself, or you have questions in terms of what you would like to use the funds for, I would encourage you to reach out to CEDA and set up an appointment with myself or Julia Foster, who's our small business development specialist. She's also on the Zoom call today. And we'll sit down with you, go over all of your information, and we will lend that technical assistance for you to fill out the application. So, like I said, this information will be on our landing page, today's recording, so feel free to go back and listen to it. I would like to open it up to any businesses that have any questions about this program or opportunity.
Hi, my name is Josie, and I have a question.
Hi, Josie.
We were given the information to go and apply immediately, so we already put in our application. Can we go back and adjust it?
Yes.
Okay,
We can set up a time to kind of review what information needs to be adjusted, and that is something that CEDA can help you with.
wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any other questions? Christina, I did that good of a job. All right, well, thank you so much for your time this morning. Like I said, CEDA is here to help you with any questions that you have. We are so appreciative of the City of Auburn to lend this opportunity to small businesses in Auburn. I will say, in terms of guidance, every municipality has used this funding differently. I know our surrounding counties have put these out as low interest opportunities, but for the City of Auburn to do this as a grant program is extremely awesome and an opportunity right now for all businesses. So I just want to extend our gratitude and thank the City of Auburn for converting all of these to grants and not any loans. Once again, we are located at 2 State Street. If you would like to come and set up an appointment and hang out with Julie or I to help you with this application. All right, well, if there's no other questions, thank you, John. Thank you, Bernie, Rob, and Kathy, and everyone else. Have a great day.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.